Welcome to Less Clutter, More You, a podcast that travels with you through the journey of letting go and creating order so you can start making more room for what matters most. Together, we'll go beyond the basket to start unlocking your next level of embracing your physical and mental space through mindset shifts and action steps. I'm your host, Maggie Britton, professional organizer, clutter coach, wife, and mom of four, and I am so glad you are here. I am so happy to be back with you for a full year of podcast episodes that are going to bring you, hopefully, inspiration and motivation to keep working towards clearing the clutter, living with less clutter, and more of you. And that is the goal. And that is one of the reasons why I am back here with you. So if you have found me from an original episode or you're just joining in 2024, thank you for being here. I know some of you joined me when I started the first round in 2023 of spring and have been asking, when's it coming back? So we are back, and I am so glad you are here, and I am so glad I am here with you. So there are two things I want to share about why I took a break and why I'm back. So I started last spring Mind Your Clutter podcast because over the years of working with clients in their home and online as they're struggling to let go of the clutter, I realized that most people thought that they were the only one who was struggling with this. And that is so far from the truth. And I wanted everyone to recognize that this is something that on any level, right? There is some people who really are struggling to let go of the smallest item. And there are others who are just trying to maintain that lifestyle of living with less so that they can simplify their day-to-days. So when I started that, I was also working in homes, in person. And so I was running my professional organizing business, which is located in central New Jersey. And that was really picking up. And the more that was picking up, which was great because we were helping more people, I also recognized that I needed to get some help in person, helping so that time to do all of the other things that come with owning a business. And we were able to help more people. So I brought on a team, and the team was growing. So in the fall, I had to take a step back and say something has to give, because the in-person sessions were ramping up. I was trying to be on site, but also at the computer, doing all the other things. And so I recognized that something had to give in order for me to be able to maintain my simplicity in the day-to-day. And there's always a season of digging your heels in and getting things done. But when they say that there is value in slowing down so that you can keep moving forward, I can't stress that enough. And that's exactly what I had to do. So I put the podcast on hold so that I could focus on building this team and creating systems that would help set me up when I was able to bring back this podcast. And so here we are. That was about 6 months of digging in deep in creating these teams, creating these systems so that can be running at the same time that I'm able to be elsewhere within the business. And that includes this podcast. So slowing down to move forward is exactly what I did. And I cannot stress the value in that, and encourage you to think about, as you move forward in 2024, where do you need to slow down? Say, hey, my gosh, hands up in the air. I need a moment of clarity to think and space mentally to make decisions and see the future and do what I have to do now, today, to simplify tomorrow. So where in your life can you do that? And if you've listened to the prior podcasts, you know that when I'm talking about clutter, I am not just talking about your physical things in your home or in your office. Yes, that is a strong starting point, and I encourage you to get started there if that's not where you're starting, but we can get back to that. But if you have any clutter in your life showing up in your home, in your thoughts, in your commitments, in your relationships, in your digital clutter, take a look. Where do you maybe need to say, I need a break from A so that I can get B situated and come back and give more of myself to A, right? So that might mean saying no to something so that you can say yes to something else. And it doesn't mean you can't circle back around. Maybe that's something that you're letting go of, that you're slowing down and you're saying, I've got to let this go. That might be something that's just a temporary hold. But maybe it's something that you start to recognize that doesn't have a place in your life and it doesn't come back onto the plate. It is scraped off, right, put away, right? But as you start to slow down, it is also easier to recognize the things that you do want to bring back on your plate and make sense. And we're going to talk about that in a future episode about how auditing your clutter is eye-opening in all areas. So that is one reason that I took a break. I had to slow down to move forward. And the other reason was when I started my podcast, and as I'm sharing this with you, I want you to think about something else that you might be starting. And if that is decluttering, then this might hit home for you as well. So I said, I'm doing this podcast. I am getting it started, and I am going to figure it out as I go. And I did. I absolutely did. I had, some resources here and there, but no core support or listening to one person tell me the way. It was a bunch of different pieces pulled from here and there, and I piecemealed it together and I made it happen. And I created the momentum, and I loved it. But to sustain that and to really get it going again, I was frozen. I was stuck. I needed accountability. I needed support. I needed someone to say, Maggie, this is what you need to do. And then this is what you need to do next. And I'm going to need this from you by this point. And so I hired that support. I said, I need help. If I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it right, and it's something that I am going to bring back on my plate, I'm going to make sure that I find a professional who knows what she's doing. And so shout out to Liz Chapman, who is my new podcast manager, who is helping me along the way, right? Now I have the accountability. Now, if I have questions, I can ask one person. Drop in the Google, I'm asking Liz, right? So that is reason number 2. If I was coming back to do this, I needed to know that I was going to invest in this help. So that is why I am back in 2024. And more so, reason number 3 is for you. Because when I took that break, and it was not intentional at first, but then I realized that, I did have to slow down elsewhere. I was hearing in conversations, I was hearing on consultation calls, I was hearing in in-person sessions, the constant struggle that I was mentioning before that so many people have with identifying what their clutter is in their life, how it's showing up, how to sort through the thoughts that go into why the clutter's there in the first place, how to take the action, how to decide what to let go of, how to maintain it and create those habits so that it's not building back up. And I was hearing these conversations. The common theme was that the clutter in these people's homes were robbing them and preventing them from being their true selves, showing up as their true selves anywhere else in their life. And some of my clients, this is a harder journey forward, and some just needed that help. Like I needed the help with the podcast, some just needed help with that. But some needed the constant coaching through to figure out this journey of living with less clutter. And so it is knowing that you here listening, if you take one piece away and that inspires you to keep moving forward, then that is a reason enough in itself. And I wanted to share an example. In my intro, you probably heard me say, less clutter, more you. I said it in my intro, said it in my outro, I say it in my emails, I say it on my Instagram posts. Less clutter, more you is across the back of our team shirts. Okay. It's something that I'm just saying, right? Because I thought it really hits home. And then I had a team member, we were working with somebody and she's had a rough go around, 40 years now. She's downsizing, gone through a lot of hardship, trauma in her life. And then the past couple months have been difficult. So it's been a true slow step process, but still forward steps. And after a few sessions of, rather difficult decluttering, my team member reached out and she said, today she mentioned that with every piece of clutter that she let go of, she was starting to feel more like her old self. And when I read this, tears came to my eyes, chills went through my body. Even now, I could come and just shed tears of joy because I know the relief that the act of decluttering can offer someone like this client and someone like you. So all of this time, I've been saying less clutter, more you. And then the client says this. That's exactly what they were feeling. This was the feeling of letting go. Years, decades. We're still working through it. It is still a journey. There are ups and downs. There's 2 steps forwards. There's a step back. It is a shuffle, but it's still part of the process. And she was recognizing it. She committed to the process and she started to see the change. And then there was another client that, she called me. We had our consult. She just kept explaining that over the past couple of years after trauma, she had wanted to reach out. She had wanted to ask for help, but felt so ashamed and overwhelmed with her situation that she froze. And so she never called. So finally, she reached out. We had our consult and she just explained that she knew what she had to do, but it was hard for her to get that momentum going. So day one, my team is in working with her and I got a message that said, she is such a decluttering rock star. She was just so good at this. She was so focused on the task at hand. The progress that we made in such a short time was amazing. So what she was able to do wasn't matching what she was telling herself she was able to do. But by calling in that support and recognizing that she was not alone, she went forth like a true rock star and embraced the help and embraced the accountability. So if you feel like your space is not matching your potential, then it might be time for you to stick around here on this podcast. I just created a free list of decluttering items. You can go, that's in the show notes. You can go through that list, see what you are able to go through and declutter on your own. There's about 100, 200 items on that list. Download it and start to recognize, where are you freezing? What are the things in your space that are creating a little bit more of a block and it's harder to let go? So stick around because this podcast is here to help you, to guide you, to answer some questions, to give you some motivation. There'll be little snippets of me. We'll have some guests on. But I want you to know that your potential is not necessarily what's going on right now. You just might need a little bit more support and some guidance. And then lastly, we got so busy with our in-person And so I hadn't mentioned the podcast. I hadn't posted about the podcast. And yet people were listening. You were listening. And that tells me that there is hope for you. If you are struggling with clutter, you don't know where to start, you don't know what habits, what do you need to do to keep the clutter out of your house, let alone get it out of your house. We want to stop it and prevent it and minimize it so you can start living with more you. And for people showing up and listening to the podcast and me not saying a word about it, that tells me I am happy to be back. I'm happy to bring you more of what you need. So send me an email, hello@chesterfieldorganizingco. You can go onto my website, maggiebritton.com. All of this is in the show notes. And let me know, how can I help you? You're here listening. Let me know what you need to hear so that you too can embrace that lifestyle of living with less clutter and more you. So as we move forward in 2024, what is that going to look like for you, for me, for my team? And how are we all going to come together to keep embracing this lifestyle of less clutter? So as I just mentioned, you can get started. There is a free download on my website in the show notes, full list of items that you can start crossing off. Get that momentum. Get into action. Watch those thoughts that your mind is creating around clutter and get into action. Mind that clutter. Take a look around. What can you touch? What can you do with just a few minutes a day to get started? And then if you know that you want to make big change in 2024, Clear the Clutter Academy is coming back for a third round because I did not do it in the fall because remember, I was slowing down so I can move forward with simplicity. And so now that I have this space on my calendar, in my brain, I am able to bring that back and offer that to you. So in 2024, pretty soon, if you're listening to this, we are in January. So the Clear the Clutter Academy next round is starting in February. So make sure you get on that wait list, or by the time you're listening to this, it might be opening, ready to enroll. We're going to have some live space-focused virtual workshops. So that might be, we're working through the kitchen 1 month. Join us if that's where you need space. You want to focus on that. Hop on in. Happy to have you. We'll have some different spaces, whatever it might be. I've been in all the spaces. I've seen it all. Nothing scares me. And I know that you can do it with some help if you need it. Okay? So that's what we are looking forward to in 2024 with Chesterfield Organizing, with Mind Your Clutter podcast. So if you're not following on Instagram, go over to Chesterfield Organizing Co. so you know when there is a new episode, when those workshops are happening, when Clear the Clutter is opening for enrollment, when it's closing for enrollment. Jump on the newsletter. And another thing for 2024 too that I'm really looking forward to doing later in the year is having a live event. So if there's any of you who have been listening and you live local to New Jersey or Eastern PA, I would love to see you in person. How fun would that be to make this happen in real life? So just some things to look forward to, what we've been up to. I'm so glad to have you back here, and I can't wait to see what 2024 brings to you. Thank you for tuning in. If after listening you have gained just a boost of motivation to start thinking about your clutter and taking action to clear it, then I would love for you to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss an episode, and leave a rating and review so we can continue to grow and inspire others just like you. In the meantime, I'll be here cheering you on your next step forward with living with less clutter and more you.